I started the script with here's a fun fact to start your morning, but it's not going to be morning when people watch this.
We can say here's a fun fact to start, end your life. I don't know. You're about to end it all.
Just give us 10 minutes.
Before you go.
I know. Watch this video.
Yeah. And hey, while you're at it, hit that subscribe button.
You might as well. You're dead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Game Daily for Tuesday.
That's right. It's Tuesday. Here's a fun fact to start your show, and maybe your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever, whenever you watch this. Activision has released a new Call of Duty every year for more than a decade.
Wow, that's older than most of our audience?
No.
They skew older, don't they?
I hope so.
A little bit.
Okay, kids want to buy a toothbrush? Anyway, that's right, Bruce. Ever since Call of Duty 2, back in 2005, we've gotten our annual booster shot of hit markers, Monster Energy drinks, and edgy homophobes.
Oh, it can be rough out there as a gamer. But let's say you're on the other side of the fence. Imagine being a developer with multiple Call of Duties under your belt, and you go to your giant publisher and say, hey, we'd like to make a new IP, intellectual property. We want to make a new thing. What do you think?
In that case, if you're Sony, you get the green light, you release Horizon Zero Dawn, and it becomes one of the best new IPs of this generation.
And if you're Sledgehammer Games, the guys that make Call of Duty all the time, you get told, no.
Get back to work. Tell us more about the story, Lord.
Yeah, that's what we heard from Sledgehammer's former CEO, Glenn Schofield, who told Game Informer that he pitched a new IP to Activision to no avail, obviously.
They didn't go for it, but they should have.
Nice.
Got him.
That's a great call, Activision. Why greenlight a new IP? Let's see when your last one was.
Okay.
I guess it was something called White Knight.
What?
I guess that was a survival horror puzzle game in 2015. Before that, Destiny.
Okay.
2014.
Yeah.
Between all that, we have a shotgun of SpongeBob games and some remakes.
At least Activision's publishing Sekiro, right? Guys?
Even still, we're all talking about Activision publishing third-party studios. Those not even internal like Sledgehammer is, so...
Yeah.
Good point.
Schofield wouldn't get into the details about what the IP was or even what genre it was in. Damn, those pesky NDAs, right? Without them, we can just say whatever we want.
After the release of Call of Duty World War II, Schofield left Sledgehammer but stayed on with Activision, which is presumably when he started prototyping this brand new IP.
And based on some of his tweets last year, it sounded like something he was really psyched about.
Now, Lawrence, what was he talking about?
Oh, it's good to get your hopes up, isn't it? Yeah, in August of last year, he tweeted, quote, I've been heads down working and designing some exciting stuff for Activision.
All right.
Obviously, I can't talk about it, but it's a really cool and awesome project.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
NDAs.
You sounded really stoked. What happened?
Whatever happened in the next few months was not cool or awesome. By the end of 2018, Schofield announced that he was leaving Activision, saying it was time to try something new.
But the IP!
Which apparently he was trying at Activision, but they said, no! You make Call of Duty, aim gun at bad man, and pull a trigger.
In the interview, it sounded like the canceled IP played a factor in his leaving, although he stressed that his 10 years with Activision were a good experience.
It could be a political answer. But also, if you put a lot of work into a new IP that you're excited about and it gets turned down, then yeah, we can see how it's time to move on.
It's really easy to point and laugh at Activision for cranking out Call of Duties like Rooster Teeth Makes Podcast.
That's a good Rooster Teeth burn.
Did you write that one?
Got him, yeah.
All of this illustrates the perils of new IP development. We love new, fresh, and exciting ideas when they succeed, but they're a huge risk for developers and publishers.
Also, everybody forgets about them when they fail.
Yeah.
So when they fail, they disappear, and nobody remembers those huge failures. It's been widely reported how expensive that AAA development has gotten. GTA 5 cost a reported $265 million to make, and when you add in marketing costs to the development budget, oh boy, that's expensive.
That's not fair.
That
That shouldn't be on the
It
developers.
is one of the biggest games ever.
Still though,
But this
Yeah.
is why they get subsidized by microtransactions after the fact. You have to make that money back.
Right. And when they succeed, they can be cash cows for years, like GTA 5. You can get the kids paying for flying cars and neon-colored bazookas for the better part of a decade.
Lawrence, what happens when they flop though?
Oh, it's great. It's a disaster. It can take entire companies with it. Anybody remember Advent Rising?
No,
I do.
I don't remember.
Orson Scott Card's masterpiece?
No, I don't know.
The game that almost killed Majesco?
No.
He's also a homophobe.
Turns out that's the secret.
In this case, Activision seems to be playing it much safer these days with established franchises like, guess what, Call of Duty.
What's their biggest new IP in the last several years? Overwatch? That was Blizzard.
Yeah.
And Overwatch is no spring chicken itself. It's been around since 2014?
2017?
How did
Well, I
Baptiste?
mean, we were playing beta in what, 2015?
Maybe 2016. Once upon a time, Activision did experiment with new IPs. Back in 2010, a first-person shooter called Singularity released under the studio Raven Software.
Lawrence, what happened?
Kind of sounded like a disaster, unfortunately, which actually sucks because the game's pretty cool. One of Raven's developers, Keith Fuller, wrote a column on Polygon a few years later about the game's troubled history. It was, to put it mildly, a mess from the sounds of it. After 2 years of work, half of Singularity's maps didn't run on the PS3 at all. Several didn't fit the Xbox 360's memory, and frame rates would crawl even on good PCs. Activision threatened to cancel it at one point. They ultimately backed off and finally gave Raven a deadline of 10 months to finish the game, which Fuller said was like asking to have the game, quote, wrapped by lunch. I mean, Singularity did finally release, but sales were not great. After that, Raven has only worked on, you guessed it, Call of Duty games.
They're a good developer.
They were very good.
Yeah.
They had a long history before becoming a pinch hitter on Call of Duty.
Dude, Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, they made a game called Mage Slayer. Cool.
Regardless, those are the facts of life when you're working for a giant corporation like Activision. By their nature, they're just going to be more risk averse.
Yeah, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick said the same thing 10 years ago. In a call with investors, he talked about how it's the blockbuster games that paved the way for new IP.
Money, it's about the money, he said on a call.
It always is.
I'm in Moneyball, he said.
That's all he ever says.
In a quote, he said, "We've taken even more thoughtfully, rigorous, and measured approach to launching new intellectual properties than we do to long-standing franchises, as the introduction of new IP is one of our industry's most difficult challenges. The work was hard, so we quit."
Translation, we are much tougher on new IP ideas because they're the hardest thing to pull off in gaming.
And Schofield actually knows that. In the Game Informer interview, he acknowledged that launching a new IP is tough. It takes a lot of time and money, and it may or may not work out.
Lawrence, what did he say?
Of his new IP, he said, quote, "We put time and effort into it and some money, and it just didn't work out. It hurts sometimes, but I have other ideas, so it's okay."
Nice.
Good for him. But on the other hand, while established franchises pay the bills, new IP when it works, gets people excited about your studio and launch a whole new franchise that you can milk for a million years.
Again, just look at Guerrilla Games with Horizon. I'm sure they're making Horizon Zero Dawn 2, right?
Yeah, but it took, what, 6 Killzones before they were
Yeah,
allowed to move
that's a good
on?
point.
Meanwhile, Sony has pretty actively pursued new IP this generation, and there are reports that Microsoft, which has been on a studio buying spree lately, has given studios the green light to make whatever they want.
Yeah, of course, there's a counterexample to this too. Capcom has managed to revitalize itself with fresh new installments of its hit franchises. Monster Hunter World, Devil May Cry 5, and the well-received Resident Evil 2 remake.
Is Capcom back?
They're back. Play the clip.
Capcom is back.
Yeah!
Cake pops are for closers. He's got a little Dante cake pop. It's actually really adorable.
It's an interesting comparison, though. It's like Capcom's back doing the things they used to do.
Yeah.
Because we got mad at them for trying new stuff that wasn't
yeah.
working.
Dragon's Dogma, you assholes, buy it.
But the irony is that Activision these days might be even more risk averse and might double down even more on what works, because times aren't that great at the publisher.
Yeah, after hitting an all-time high in September when I bought and reporting record revenues last year, the company's stock price has dropped to about half that, and I'm still there.
Are you on the investor calls?
I'm not on the calls. I could be if I wanted to.
They're public. You can join them.
yeah.
I just want to see Bruce shouting like, "Hey, where's my money?" So it probably is not the best time to be pitching a new IP to Activision.
Also,
Bruce can do it.
Yeah, I could give him a shot.
I'll fix your company!
I got a new game. You shoot guns, you shoot a man. We'll call it Time of Duty. Also, 2 high-up executives have left Activision. Black Ops 4 did $500 million in sales and was still disappointing somehow.
God.
And there was that high-profile breakup with Bungie over the publishing rights to Destiny 2.
And Blizzard, Blizzard,
know.
which provided Activision with its biggest new IP in years, was Overwatch, also does not have any major releases planned for this year.
Blizzard.
They're doing the Capcom, man. They just released Diablo and Good Old Games, and apparently it's selling like crazy. So you just gotta hit that cash register with a hammer and pull all the money out.
People love nostalgia.
Of course, there were also some layoffs there, yeah?
Yeah, earlier this year there was a big round of layoffs at Activision. 800 jobs were
my
cut.
gosh.
This is what we see from companies when they need to tighten their belts, really, just trying to make that payroll nice and slim. So it makes sense that Activision's going to keep relying on its cash cows, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Hearthstone, World of Warcraft, and probably even more aggressively monetize them. There's been a lot of talk about how Activision might be squeezing Blizzard, making them more of an Activision-style studio. As people have
We've
seen that
talked
in World of
about that.
Warcraft. Yeah, it's concerning. Companies got to stay in business, though.
I know. Or else a lot of people lose their jobs.
Yeah, sure.
That milk might be getting pretty stale.
Chewy.
I guess we'll get through the day.
Come on, that'll get you through the day.
It's not good milk.
Stale
though.
milk isn't good, but it still sustains you.
Do you ever do that thing where you pour milk in coffee and then it comes up in chunks?
Yeah, what is up with that?
Then you drink it anyway?
I don't want to talk about milk anymore. Anyway, for Schofield, he's a free agent right now. And while the new IP didn't work out, he said that he'd love to actually revisit another franchise that fans would love to see come back.
Huh?
Dead Space.
Oh,
That's right.
You should have pitched that to Activision.
Yeah.
They would have loved
You
it.
think EA would just go, yeah, we don't want it
Yeah,
anymore.
that's fine.
We're not doing anything with it.
They
They
would have
just
totally
they
done
sort of
it.
kick the corpse a little bit, see if and they're like, do something.
Area that I played through was just kind of a like you said, a peaceful Japanese village.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
then
kind of
there's-
looks like people have been here like less than 2,000 years ago, whereas all the soul stuff is like
Oh, yeah.
so long abandoned.
It's like
Yeah.
a ruined civilization.
Yeah.
I did find some NPCs that sort of spoke in hushed whispers about things